All right, we're going to see how this works. I am here presenting to you a little bit about the Vietnam War. So this will be like an introduction, and we'll see how this goes. I will be expecting students to be going through the PowerPoint at their own pace, pausing or going back to the slides as they need to make sure that they're reading and processing the information. In addition, your textbook goes through most of this material, and it is chapter 17 of your textbook. So the Vietnam War, we're starting with just some background information. We first need to know what French Indochina is. And so if we take a look, I like this map at the bottom here. It shows you the outline of what is called Indochina, which makes sense because Indo means under. So that is going to include Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. After World War II, France tried to regain control over Indochina. So we're actually going to see French and Japanese forces there trying to have control over those territories. But there's going to be a person named Ho Chi Minh who is opposed to this and really wants to allow for the independence of Vietnam. And he would also like to be the leader of Vietnam as a whole, not as North and South Vietnam, but as just Vietnam. So he is going to form a group called the Viet Minh, and it will be under his control. So Ho Chi Minh forms the Viet Minh, which is a group that will be fighting throughout this war. So Ho Chi Minh wanted the single communist regime, and he wanted to model it after his neighbors, China, and then also the Soviet Union. So he was a communist and wanted to make all of Vietnam a communist country. So the goal, once again, to gain independence, to get rid of any forces that are in that region. The French did not want to give up their control of the region. The Japanese backed off, but the French did not. And so because of our fear of communism, the United States is going to support the French. And we do this out of what we call today the domino theory. The domino theory means that we believe if one domino falls, or if one country falls to the communist regime, then other countries or other dominoes, if you've ever played dominoes, you know how that works. They all start falling down. So we're afraid of, if we let Vietnam become communist, then Laos will, and Cambodia, and Thailand, and Burma, and India, Bangladesh, and so on and so forth. And it could eventually get to the United States, which is not good for the United States' economy, and is something that we've been fighting as we just finished up our Cold War unit. You guys remember our fear of communism. Eventually, there's going to be a battle at Dien Bien Phu. You can see it here on the map. And this is eventually where the French will have to surrender. So they are defeated. France, Great Britain, the Soviet Union, the United States, China, Laos, and Cambodia are all going to meet, and they are going to come up with a plan known as the Geneva Accords. I left the results here blank. I want you to make sure you're reading through that information in your textbook. Again, chapter 17. This is lesson 1 still, just kind of in the start of this unit here. So that is on page 502. Make sure you're reading through that information on the Geneva Accords. One of the really important things that it talks about is how it splits up North and South. So Vietnam is not just Vietnam at the time, but they split it here and they create the North and the South. So that's one of the really important pieces, because it leads us to talk about a person named Ngo Dinh Diem, who will become the South leader of Vietnam. So remember, the North is still going to be Ho Chi Minh, and then we have Ngo Dinh Diem, which we really are going to promote him because he is Western, he is an anti-communist, and he's also Catholic, which is really interesting, having a Catholic person living in and actually even ruling, becoming the leader of what we know is a Buddhist nation. Diem is known to be a harsh leader, and we have evidence of that. There's, just this one picture I think is just so startling, just showing how some of the monks were willing to go beyond what might be a normal type of protest in order to show that they really